Good evening. Welcome to another PDR Live. Please like the live stream and subscribe to our channel if you're not done so. Perfect. Just checking the audio right now, folks. And looks like everything is going perfectly well. So this is the update right now on the assassin of the UnitedHealthcare CEO. We're doing a follow-up live stream here from yesterday. And apparently the assassin has left town. And I knew it. I think I shared this yesterday with the live stream. It just, to me, it just didn't seem, it didn't make any sense for him to stick around. He apparently boarded a Greyhound bus from Atlanta, Georgia. This is what the authorities are actually saying or claiming. And he was in town meaning New York City, for the past 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, apparently. So he was there early and knew that the CEO, or actually was aware that this event by United Healthcare group was going to occur at that city, and he somehow found out where the CEO was staying at and waited for the opportunity to assassinate him. And this is so far what we have here on this is coming from the Wall Street Journal headline. And the Wall Street Journal says how an assassin escaped one of the most surveilled cities in the world. Police say that after the fatal shooting, the suspect likely fled New York City by bus. So that's the situation right there. And oh, I see here. Okay. So the article goes on to state that the United Healthcare assassin has evaded police in one of the most surveilled cities in the world, but has left a trail of clues to his whereabouts. Investigators are using a web of public and private cameras to hunt the suspect who fatally shot Brian Thompson, the chief executive of United Health's insurance arm. The killing outside a New York City Hilton hotel was captured on video Wednesday, along with several other stops the suspect has made. So that's the situation right there. You have the and the Amnesty International says that there are about 25,000 cameras at traffic intersections in New York City alone, and that the city introduced a new drone surveillance initiative over Central Park last month to help solve crimes there and in other areas. And in spite of all that, the assassin got away. In spite of all of the technology, he was able to evade the police there. So we're not going to go ahead and take you to a video from NBC News. And this is what NBC News this is their reporting yesterday. And just give me 1 second here. I need to take care of something. All right. Hello? There we go. Okay, so this is from NBC News.
To break down the latest evidence we have in this case and where that manhunt goes from here, I want to welcome back John Monahan, a retired captain with the New York Police Department. John, great to see you. He's also the author of a series of detective novels. His latest is The Guns of Antwerp, NYPD Takes Boston. All right, John, we thank you again. So we're going to go through all the new clues we've gotten tonight. We want to start with what I think maybe is the biggest piece of evidence today, along with those images. Let's start with the bullets, right? Inscribed on the bullet casings: deny, defend, depose. I have two questions. First, what do you think these words mean, number one? And number two, What does it tell you that the killer wrote something on the shell casings?
A lot of planning. As we heard there, he's been there for a while. He put a lot of planning into this. I'm baffled by the idea that he expected these bullets to be on our crime scene. These are unfired bullets. They only get ejected and land on the ground when you rack the gun to clear a jam. You don't go into a shooting expecting a jam. I did not see it on the video that he took them out of his pocket and dropped them, but those bullets are inside the magazine of the gun. The only way they get produced onto the floor of our crime scene is when he racks that gun 3 times, which he did do to clear a jam. So he puts these words on the bullets and thinks maybe they end up in the crime scene, maybe they don't. Doesn't make any sense. This word depose is not from the title of the book. The other two are. I would start looking at people who have been sat for depositions recently in the healthcare thing, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's a lot of planning.
But how do you even write on a bullet casing? I mean, is that something people do?
You can etch it. That's time consuming and it's very, difficult. You can get a permanent marker.
But is he sending a message to people like you? I mean, is he sending a message to investigators saying, I don't know, dropping clues?
Tom, I tell you what, it could be that. It could be a subterfuge to get us to go in that direction if the motive was in another direction. There's a lot of moving parts in each silo of this event. There's the personal, the professional, and
The other big piece of evidence, right? Police releasing these images. We want to show them to our viewers, show them to you. Now, police are using the term person of interest. From what we understand, this is protocol by the NYPD. In some cases, they've been saying this is the suspect. In this case, they're calling this person a person of interest here. Talk to me about why they released these 2 photos. One shows him smiling, one frowning or not smiling. What does this tell us, and why do they release these?
Well, we're hoping someone will identify him, not from passing him on the street here in New York, but someone in his life that knows him. That's a face that there's probably 50 people in the world right now that are looking at that picture, and a light bulb goes off, says, I know that man from somewhere.
Okay.
So it's very helpful. He's a person of interest, not a suspect, for a number of reasons. We're not certain 100% that it's him.
Yeah.
That's a different jacket. I believe it's a different backpack than the Starbucks pictures. It seems like it's him.
You're noticing differences, you think?
I do see some differences, but there's enough similarities to consider him a person of interest.
Okay, just before we go to our next thing, which is going to be a map, I do want to ask you, they know when he got here, they know where he came from, they know how long he's been here, they have these. Do you think they know who this person is?
Not yet.
You still think they don't know who he is?
They're
Not
close.
yet?
They're
Okay.
close.
They're close?
Atlanta could be a subterfuge, too.
Okay.
I don't know. You want to take a Greyhound, it depends on.
Right.
From Minnesota, you got to go through Chicago, Cleveland, and Buffalo. Did he go to Atlanta on purpose? I don't know.
Let's go to our map now. I want to show you this because we've learned some more things about where he was at. This is where the shooting takes place. This is the hostel where he was staying, right? It's about 50 blocks north on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Does this tell you anything at all? He's staying at a hostel again, 50 blocks from the scene of the shooting.
Well, the best way to get from point A to point B here would be by bicycle right through Central Park.
Fastest way.
Fastest way, right through Central Park. There are exits, 85th Street, 90th, 100th Street. Once you pass 100th Street, you got to go up to 110. So the best way to get there would be by bicycle through the park.
He may have used a fake ID. He paid with cash. That he's staying at a hostel. Does that tell you something different?
He's from out of town. That's the first thing I think of. He's from out of town.
Okay.
Now you mentioned the bus from Atlanta. That makes sense. And the hostel, I mean, the nature of a hostel is such that, like your first bullet there, people have stayed in hostels. They bunk you up into a room with others. That doesn't mean he's connected to these men.
Yeah.
They have been interviewed, from what I understand, and cleared.
Right.
So that's not really.
Yeah, he was staying with 2 other guests. We don't think they're connected. At least police haven't told us that yet. But I mean, they're going to be questioning them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Earlier today, we also got this Nest video I want to play for our viewers as well. They may have seen this. Police believe this may be the suspect. He's on that bicycle. He's going from 85th Street, Central Park West. Looks like he's likely heading further west. What does this tell you, if anything?
This is the 85th Street exit from Central Park. So if he came up from 59th Street, I don't think he's a New Yorker. He's an out-of-towner. He's staying at a hostel.
Yeah.
Should have stayed in the park till 100th Street. Yeah. Or at least 97th Street. But he came out here at 85th. He's heading to Columbus. Next block is Amsterdam, and then it's north to 104th Street.
No longer has the backpack. What does that tell you?
I'm not convinced. Tom, I'm not convinced it's him. Does it look like a city bike? Look at the tail.
Apparently,
See the tail on that?
they've gotten rid of the city bike thing.
So then, what, did he rob someone? We don't have a robbery report?
The backpack, if that is him, he ditched it somewhere, possibly.
If he ditched that backpack, I can tell you this. In Central Park, we'd have found it.
Okay.
The cops have scoured every inch of that park. Every blade of grass has been checked.
Okay.
I'm not convinced that's him. It may well be. This is the direction he'd be going in, but okay.
So, and today we received word from CNN. So that was yesterday's NBC report. They were speaking with a police, I guess, expert on law enforcement. But today we received the following information on CNN. The backpack actually has been found. So we can go now to this CNN video.
Sources are telling CNN that police believe they found the backpack belonging to the assassin who killed the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Brian Thompson. ABC News obtained a picture of the backpack. I'm going to just show it to you here. Again, this is ABC had gotten this picture of it. We are told that that backpack was found in Central Park in New York City. Now, you know that for days now, authorities have been scouring that park. They've been looking for the backpack, and it appears that they may now have it. That's crucial, of course. But what they do not have is the CEO assassin. And top New York Police Department officials tell CNN exclusively right now that they have reason to believe that the suspect left on a bus on Wednesday, hours after the killing.
We also have reason to believe that the person in question has left New York City.
We have video of him entering the Port Authority bus terminal. We don't have any video of him exiting, so we believe he may have gotten on a bus.
Okay, that's crucial information. So let's just start with all of where we are here, what we know about the suspect's movements after the murder in Midtown Manhattan. Investigators say the assassin, who they do believe acted alone. So, we've talked about the phone call that he had just before the shooting. Right now, they're saying they believe he acted alone. So he did this assassination, shooting Brian Thompson in the back. Then he runs from the Hilton where he had shot Thompson with a silencer. He runs on that bike, gets on a bike, goes into Central Park. He exits the park, and we'll show you the map here, around 77th Street. Just the context here, that's 23 blocks from where the murder took place. For anyone not a New Yorker, that is just over 1 mile. He then made his way to 85th Street, where police have this video of him on a bike. They say that's him and that they know that's him. Officials say from there, he walked up to 86th Street and grabbed a taxi to the George Washington Bridge bus station. Now, the George Washington Bridge is all the way north. You can see that green part of Central Park. You got to go a long way up there, 90 blocks away. And that's almost 5 miles. Okay, so he gets there in a taxi. Officials then have video, you heard them just say, entering that bus station. It is one of the busiest in the entire United States. There are 1,000 buses a day that go through that George Washington Bridge bus terminal. They say that is where they lose him because they don't see him leave. So if he got on a bus, at this point, that means he could be anywhere in the U.S., even perhaps beyond. I mean, take a look at the map, just of some of the locations that just from that bus terminal you can go to any day: Boston, Buffalo, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. And obviously, that could just be the tip of the iceberg from there anywhere around the country or Canada. At this hour, DNA testing is being done on several items that they recovered at the scene of the assassination. That water bottle that we've mentioned that the killer may have purchased just before killing Thompson that had a smudged fingerprint on it, that's undergoing testing. They're also testing a cell phone that was recovered at the scene. So these are all major developments. In the backpack, we literally found out just a few minutes here before we came on air. So let's go to Omar Jimenez, out front live, outside that George Washington Bridge bus station where the suspect was last seen. Omar, at this point, this is potentially a major break of some sort to show at what point he may have left, the time that he may have left New York.
So, that's a little update there on what's going on with this case with the UHC CEO at the moment. And so the Washington Post earlier today came out with an interesting story today that a lot of the mainstream media really is not reporting. And we're going to take you now to that article that appeared in today's Washington Post. So we're going to bring it up here pretty soon. And according to this article, it's titled "Slain United Health CEO faced ongoing court battles, threats. And so we're going to go ahead and take you now to that right now. So this is the article that appeared in earlier today in the Washington Post. And just wanted to go ahead and show you guys some interesting background here that the Washington Post, information that they actually uncovered today in today's post. So the article basically states before UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down in Midtown Manhattan this week, he was steering his company through court battles and legislative threats at a time of public frustration over health insurance industry tactics. UnitedHealthcare's parent company, which generates $400 billion in annual revenue, has been under increasing scrutiny by lawmakers and federal officials for allegedly hurting consumers with monopolistic practices. Some Democratic lawmakers have accused UnitedHealthcare of intentionally denying claims to boost profits, and Thompson himself has been accused of insider trading. So that's quite a bombshell. And you don't see the mainstream media focusing on the fact that this person who was assassinated 2 days ago is allegedly involved in insider trading. We're not hearing that at all from the mainstream media. So that was just a very interesting I don't know what we would call it, an expose or investigative reporting from the Washington Post. And it's information really that the mainstream media is not really focusing on for whatever reason that they have. It's not really fitting the narrative that they have. So then the article goes and continues with the following here, and there's an image there of the reward poster posted outside of Hilton where Brian Thompson had been staying on December 4th. So legal scrutiny around UnitedHealthcare's Medicare business regarding potentially overbilling the government affected Thompson's personally during that time, said a former colleague who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Okay. Given the sensitivity of Thompson's death, he called me and said, "I'm from Iowa. My parents have difficulty explaining what I do. let alone being sued for $1 billion." He said. So that's a very telling. It's very telling that this guy comes from a Midwestern state, apparently from pretty humble, upbringing. He doesn't come from the 1%, or he's from a rural community. And what we're going to read later on in an article is that he was a very good student, attended a university, and was a valedictorian. And when he got into the healthcare business, he was just all out and just trying to be the best that he could be. But that's interesting that his parents or people in his family actually called into question what is it that you actually do. Right? So, and then when you work in the healthcare industry, how do you explain to people who ask you that question, what is it that you do? What do you do for a living, right? Is the typical question that you get when you meet someone for the first time, outside your family. But then let's say you leave the house, you're young, you graduate from the university, you find a new job, you start a new career, you go back home, and your parents want to know, well, what is it that you do? You know, you're just being so successful. Um, you know, and so they later go on to in the article to uh, point out how that he had a difficult time explaining to them what he actually did for a living. You know, because how are you going to tell your parents that, hey, we just pull money from different people, and then people who really need, you know, who are undergoing a crisis, we will either accept or reject their claim to an operation or some type of treatment. And you know, it's like farming, right? Like the when the harvest comes, we reap plentiful amounts of profit, and then winter comes, and winter is for the customer, uh, the winter of our discontent. So the article goes on. Colleagues described him as smart and affable with an Iowa farm background that allowed him to explain complexities of healthcare in relatable terms. Known affectionately as BT with the build of a former high school athlete, Thompson had the presence to give major speeches and lead corporate events in a self-effacing manner that drew staff to him in more intimate meeting settings, remembering personal details about hundreds of United Health employees. Colleagues said Thompson was known within the company for his focus on keeping premiums low, said one UnitedHealthcare staffer who spoke on the condition of anonymity to protect their job. Now, remember, this is what they're telling the media right now. But remember, they're one of the top officials of United Health has told their employees not to speak to the media and to refer any media inquiries to their media division or their media department. So you got to keep this, what they're telling you, with a grain of salt. But that's not all. Thompson was on his way, says here, um, to present at United Health Group's annual investor conference Wednesday, when he was shot from behind by a masked gunman. Bullet casings recovered at the crime scene echoed words critics used to deride insurance company tactics: delay, deny, defend, according to the person with knowledge of the investigation, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the ongoing probe. He told his wife, Paulette Thompson, okay, 51, a physical therapist, that there were some people that had been threatening him, according to NBC News. Thompson joined United Health Group in 2004, and over the next 2 decades rose quickly through the ranks of the company's largest unit, UnitedHealthcare, which provides employer and individual health coverage to 50 million people in the United States. He enjoyed being part of a major company with lots of resources, believing that it enabled him to figure out big problems, said the former colleague. That former colleague described Thompson as possessing strong business acumen and being likable, but also unafraid to be blunt and direct. As a public university graduate in an industry replete with Ivy League pedigrees, Thompson was fueled in part by wanting to prove himself, said the former colleague. And that's his picture right there. It's a picture that's going around in the mainstream media circles at the moment. The article continues with the following. I just saw a guy that wanted to be somebody, and the reason he was going to be somebody was because of the chip that he had on his shoulder, the former colleague said. He had a much more modest background than probably a lot of the circles that he was running in. I don't think it generated insecurity, but I think it motivated him. He was also a top executive of the parent company, though not its public face, typically playing a supporting role to CEO Andrew Whitty in calls with financial analysts. Some colleagues saw him as a potential successor to the 60-year-old Whitty, who has run United Health Group, the nation's fourth largest company, since February 2021. Scrutiny on the company has mounted in recent years. Under Thompson, UnitedHealthcare ramped up its use of tactics such as prior authorization. Now, what that means there is that basically, and I have personal experience about this process called prior authorization. So I'm a caretaker, and I take care of my father, who was diagnosed with dementia almost 3 years ago. Actually, it's been 3 years. And if we need my dad to get some type of um, medical treatment, we can't just go to the doctor. We have to make an appointment, and then we have to go through his doctor, the neurologist, and request, hey, we want this, right? And then they seek an authorization from the insurance company. So my dad's insurance company is Ultimate. Um, so that's what it is. So if they want to take do a study of his brain, which they've done already on 2 occasions, because they want to see how his brain is actually functioning. We have to seek what's called prior authorization. Now, because my dad is retired, he's 77 years old, and he has Medicare. The government's footing the bill, and I believe he actually subscribed to registered with Medicare Advantage, unbeknownst to me. By the way, so don't hate the messenger. I'm just informing, letting you know. So it seems to me, from what I've seen, the billing statements, that they kind of tend to overcharge the government. Um, so in that event, because he's a senior and he's getting Medicare, they're not going to reject his request. They're going to accept it because they know that the federal government is going to foot the bill at the end of the day. He's not paying. However, people outside of Medicare, they're probably, it's going to be more likely for the person outside of Medicare to be rejected than someone like my dad, right? And by the way, before you assume that, oh well, then your dad is in a better position, not so, because the problem with prior authorization is that your loved one probably depends, right? Your loved one might need that treatment or care right away, and a prior authorization is it's just a long process. So, for example, we're waiting for his redo. He needs eye surgery because got his cataracts removed over a decade ago, but his left eye, the left lens, his body's rejected the left lens, so his vision on his left eye is pretty much almost completely gone, 90%. And we've been requesting a redo, and the doctors were not willing to do it because his pressure was too high. So we were able to get his pressure low after they prescribed these eye drops. So they finally said in the middle part of last year, hey, we feel comfortable. We can do another redo on your dad's left eye. We're going to do a prior authorization. And I was like, great. When is this going to probably happen? Now, remember, this is around June, July. They said, well, we think that the hospital, you have to, they already had people set up for the surgery for the months of July, August, September, October. So they thought, well, most likely either October or November, we'll give you a call. Okay. And you don't have to get the authorization over the mail. You don't have to worry about that stuff. We'll take care of it. So I said, fine. So we had problems with our phone October and November. They had finally, like on November 13th or the 15th, and they missed us, and we weren't able to get his surgery because they didn't have my alternate phone, which I did give them. So that's another problem of dealing with clinics and hospitals, that you give them the information and they don't always follow up. So we missed that, and now we're being told that that hospital that they were thinking of sending him to in November, they can't do it December, they can't do it January, and they probably will, the earliest would be February, but they're trying to get him to another hospital in Encino. They put in the request, but they're now waiting for that hospital in Encino to accept the request. And once they accept it, then most likely he will get his surgery on his left eye this December. So that's really our best hope to get that thing done sooner than next year. Okay, so that's the situation right there. That's prior authorization. Okay, so we've been waiting really 6 months already for something simple. So simple, it's something that shouldn't take somebody in the healthcare who's consuming healthcare products, right? Who's a customer, who's a client of these insurance companies. It shouldn't be taking all this paperwork, all these hoops, and miscommunication, and then the office over there that's trying to get this operation done. They don't do email. I was told. So this is the problem that a lot of people experience with the healthcare industries and with this prior authorization. So it says here that scrutiny on the company has mounted in recent years. Under Thompson, UnitedHealthcare ramped up its use of tactics such as prior authorization, in which physicians must submit additional paperwork to justify their treatments and prescriptions, according to reports by congressional investigators and federal watchdogs. The company also increasingly relied on automated programs to immediately reject claims, lawmakers and watchdogs have said. And then industry analysts have said that denying claims has helped UnitedHealthcare and other insurers cut costs and boost profits. The tactics have been faulted by lawmakers, federal officials, and advocacy groups who say the health insurance giant has wrongly denied care to customers. And UnitedHealthcare, of course, has defended its practices, saying that lawmakers' scrutiny is misplaced and that it is working to prioritize patient care. So now, taking all of that into account, I now take you to this video from CNN, and just listen to this here.
Do you think that they know who he is? You think that they have his identity?
It's a good chance. It's a very good possibility with these new photographs that he has that they already know who he is. Mm-hmm. It's a very good chance of that. But I want to say something else that I know these criminal investigators are looking into as it relates to motive. There have been times when people have orchestrated their own demise for certain reasons. We know that there are some, and I'm not saying this is the case. But as an investigator,
like for insurance purposes?
Absolutely, insurance purposes. Maybe they fear some type of investigation down the road. Maybe they want to leave their family in a good light. But there have been cases where people have orchestrated their own demise. And here's another reason.
And just to say, you're saying in a nice language, you're saying that it is a possibility.
It is a possibility
that he hired somebody to kill him.
Absolutely, it cannot be ignored. And this is what is really digging at me as a former criminal investigator. This guy knew too much about where he was going to be at a specific time. There's no evidence that I've seen of him, when you look at the timeline of him coming to that area outside of the Hilton and where he was outside of the Hilton, it's a very small window. Very small window. It's not like he was roaming around. Mm-hmm. We have video of him roaming around, going from one door to the next, trying to figure out where he's going to be at a specific time.
He knew.
He was there. He was laying in wait. Who would have that specific type of information as to what sidewalk he was going to be on?
Okay.
Where he's going in?
Wow. Well, that's
saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way a criminal investigator's mind works, and it's important. It's important. Shimon, I'm going to. Do you think that?
There it is, folks. So that's there it is, folks. So that's just food for thought. And we just have to keep all of the facts and information in mind. But that's it for today. So I just wanted to point that out, that what the mainstream media is really not really focusing on is the sordid tactics that this CEO was involved in and his insurance company. And so right now the mainstream media is trying to do like a counter narrative, kind of like a counter attack, because everyone pretty much is making fun or making light of that situation, precisely because of the things I shared with you personally. And that's just one horror story that I gave you. I could share with you countless other stories. And again, our story is really not, it's not the most like dramatic or the most tragic. When he got the diagnosis that he had dementia, it was really tragic. But there are worse stories out there, and we're lucky that at least my dad does have Medicare, and he's not working anymore, so he doesn't have to worry about being fired or anything. So we have to keep in mind of that. And again, I'm trying to also tie this to the elections and the politicians right now, like people like Dean Phillips and Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. They're having a tough time really defending their tweets, because they're coming out and tweeting sympathetic things about the CEO, and they're getting backlash from the public. And now they're recognizing that, yeah, that some of the tactics are wrong, but it's not all their fault. There's Congress. Well, then in the rejoinder from many people is that, well, what are you doing about it? You guys are in Congress. You could be doing something to address that problem. And really, the politicians in Congress right now, both Democrat, Republican, they should be talking about this issue. And the fact that they're not, it just indicates that they're beholden to these companies, and they want to continue the status quo. They want to continue things the way they are. And so it's just very easy. I guess my message is this. It's just very easy to just target an individual, an assassin, and say bad, 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 evil, 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 evil. And you're probably right. But it's hypocritical to ignore what we just read, what they're doing. They're denying prior authorizations. They're not denying all of them, but they're denying, I think from what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the comment section, about 1/3 of these requests. And they're using an AI algorithm to reject some of these requests. And the AI are doing it wrong. So it's like time to really spare us the theatrics, mainstream media, and report the whole story. Of course, the Washington Post, yeah, they did report one article though. Okay, and this is the way the media functions. Just one article, okay? But you don't see CNN, NBC, CBS. They're not focusing on that, right? The focus is on the CEO and the assassin. But really, we should be focusing on the customers of UnitedHealthcare more. They should be getting more of the attention. And there are stories there of their customers dying because of the practices that they continue to do at that company. And there are other companies as well involved in the same sordid practices. So that's it for today. Please like the live stream. Thank you for joining. And this has been a PDR Live. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so.